Okay, thank you everyone for joining us for the September 2nd board meeting of the Downtown Sarasota Condo Association. We really appreciate everyone's cooperation, not only with the technology, but also with being regularly here and helping us with the things that we'd like to get done. First of all, let me check to see that all the board members are here. I'm going to call your name, and if you would answer, I'd appreciate that. Patrick Gannon.
Yes, here.
Jamie Still. Clark
Here.
Lauren.
I'm here.
Peter Fanning. I think Peter will join us later, possibly. John Moran.
Yes.
Roger Barry.
Here.
Bob Parolo.
Here.
Ken Sheelan.
Here.
Thank you very much. If we could go straight to the secretary's report, that's Jamie Still.
Did everybody receive the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Any changes,
Yes.
edits?
No, I don't have any.
No.
Anyone
Okay.
else? All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Everyone in favor? Anyone against? Let me start there. Was that, I'm sorry, I'll do this again. I wasn't sure if you were in favor or against. Is there anyone who has any changes to the minutes? Anyone against approving the minutes? So we'll consider the minutes approved. Thank you very much. It's a little bit more difficult to do this on Zoom than it is when we're all in the same room. The treasurer's report, Clark Lauren, if you would.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. We've got about $9,000 in the account. I'm sorry, I've been running around this afternoon doing things. So I don't have an exact number at the moment, but I can get it for you.
Okay, we're not bankrupt?
No, we are solvent.
Just trying to get some hard information.
The party fund is still in good shape.
Oh, yes, yes, and I'm having a hard time remembering all those parties. We have two guests today, which, as you can see, is number 4 under new business. One of them is the mayor and the other is Officer Tim Bales. I just want to briefly say that the mayor, who has been really wonderful about fitting us into her schedule, only has 15 minutes to give us this time, but she literally squeezed us in between 2 other meetings. And so the time I have for her, believe it or not, is from 5:10 to 5:28. So she's going to pop in as soon as she can and just give us a bit of an update on the city. And we really appreciate her doing that. In the meantime, the guest we have is Officer Tim Bales from the Sarasota City Police Department. There he is. Thank you, Officer Bales.
You're welcome.
And we asked Officer Bales, actually, he was recommended by the chief, to address some of the issues that a lot of the condominiums along the bayfront seem to be having, or I should say the condominium residents seem to be having, with noise issues. And the noise is evidently emanating from motorcycles and cars that enjoy exceptionally loud motors and like to rev them at 2 in the morning as they zip along the bayfront and go over the bridge because there's no traffic now. So we're having additional issues that we never had when we had traffic jams. So, and I know, Officer Bales, that you've been involved with this for some time in helping the residents. So I wonder if you could bring us up to date on that.
Really what we're trying to do is we've been trying to contact the EPA. The noise and modification of mufflers is a very difficult issue. We have to be able to use a measurement device that is approved through the EPA. Because of COVID, nobody's up in the EPA. They're not returning calls. Go figure. Where it comes into a huge problem is in order for us to affect a traffic stop, on a motorcycle that has loud exhaust, yes, we can do it with our ears and say, yes, it sounds like it is louder than what it is supposed to be. But we have to have the availability to take a measurement and say, yes, it is too loud. We don't have the measurement device to be able to do that. Second thing is there's specific ways that we have to measure the noise decibel according to the guidelines, and that's on the side of the road. The noise-making vehicle has to be in the middle of the roadway, yada, yada, yada. So it makes it very difficult to be able to do that as well. The third problem comes in, there's more than one motorcycle. So if they come over in a pack of 10 motorcycles are going over the bridge, how are we supposed to know which one has the loud exhaust if it's not all of them? So it comes into a whole lot of complications of where we're trying to go with an enforcement issue. We're trying to get all this rectified. It's a very difficult situation. It's not something that you guys want to hear, and for that I apologize. I wish there was a way that I could say I could go out there and get them, issue them citations and had it held up in court. Us in the traffic unit have quite a bit of integrity. I'm not going to write a citation that I can't prove in court. And I wouldn't do it to them. So without being able to do that, right now we're kind of in a holding pattern until we definitely get back from the EPA or hear back from them.
Well, Officer Bales, as a former prosecutor, I understand that there isn't any point in doing anything if you don't have the evidence to bring it to court. That you really, it isn't ethical to just do it on a wing and a prayer because you know you can never prosecute it in court. Right. So I understand that. It's very frustrating, of course. Do you mind taking some questions from the board, first of all, and then from some of the residents? I hope you're okay with that.
I'm perfectly okay with that, and I'll answer them the best that I possibly can.
Thank you so much. Bob Parola, you have your hand up?
Yes, I have a question regarding amplified music from, say, a house or a bar. Does that come under your purview also?
Yes, there are city ordinances that govern amplified music from bars and houses and stuff like that. It's different from motor vehicles. Please understand that I am with the traffic unit. My little forte is geared towards cars, not so much the other ones. But yes, there is a city ordinance.
We do have an issue.
Sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
We do have an issue in, I'm in Central Coconut, and there is a house that on an afternoon could blast music at really high noise level. And what would be the best process to go? We're not interested in harassing our neighbors or whatever, but at the end of the day, there are quite a few people here who have to listen to their music whether they want to or not. And what would you suggest be the best way to deal with something like that?
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm kind of talking out of my comfort zone on this one, I believe that the city ordinance puts a decibel level on the music starting at specific times throughout the evening and into the night. I don't know if it is specific during the day or not. What I would suggest is get hold of that city ordinance that governs that. Okay. And if it appears to be loud during the time frames that are there, call the police department. I do know that there are noise meters for those purposes that they have used on Main Street and other places. Again, there's a whole class on using those noise meters. You have to be certified in that. I am not certified. So I'm really not familiar with that. That's where I would start. And if you think it's beyond those decibel levels, call the police department, non-emergency number, dispatch, say, hey, look, we have loud noise. It's coming from this point. Have the officer meet with you and go that way, explain the problem, and then they can start documenting it and getting the readings.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Roger.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question. It appears that there's more speeding now than in other times. Is that the case? Are you having issues with speeding on the bridge or on 41?
We are doing a lot of speed enforcement on US 41 during the construction zones and when the construction zones are active. Okay. That we are doing that quite often. I'm going to say 3 to 4 times a week. On the bridge, when we work evenings, yes, because we have had complaints that people are going fast over the bridge. We do work some evenings. We are out there. We're trying to do the enforcement out there. We have 2 officers that do work nights. I think they do put it on the rotation of lists of where they need to hit. It is being documented. Personally, I think what's happened within the last, I'm going to say 6-7 months is since COVID, a lot of people are working from home and therefore there's less traffic on the road, which means the roads are a little bit open up and people are, in my opinion, yes, they are going a little bit faster. We have 4 permanent positions in the traffic unit. We have 2 career development. So there's a total of 6 of us. 4 work during the day, 2 work during the evening. We're trying to handle all the problems in Sarasota as far as the speeding complaints. And there's a list about 10 different areas that we're currently working on.
Officer, do you have any idea how many tickets have been issued in any recent period of time in the Gulfstream Ringling Bridge area?
I have no idea.
I do.
Okay. We're only talking to the board members right now.
Oh, I thought you took questions from the residents.
We will.
Oh,
Clark.
I'm in 1350 Main Street, overlooking Main Street, and I'm just assuming you must have a ton of complaints from downtown, from the noise that we hear constantly from the motorcycles reverberating off the buildings. Is there anything different, any different approach that you might use downtown?
There is nothing we can do. Again, we've already discussed that. It's an issue that they have to be measured in a specific way with a specific approved measuring device. And EPA is not working right now, or they're not answering anything. So there's our hands are really kind of tied with that. I was working last Friday, and as I was going home, they allowed us to work until midnight, working overtime. I actually saw about, I think, 20 motorcycles going downtown. So I understand what you guys are talking about. Unfortunately, my hands are tied. I can't do an enforcement. You know, if I see you speeding down the road, but I don't have a measurement device, I'm not just going to pull you over and write you a ticket for speeding. That's not right. The same thing with these guys. I can't just pull them over and say, hey, listen, your muffler's too loud. Here's a ticket for it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So it is very frustrating for you and for us because we have to have the tools to be able to do our job.
Officer, do you know if tools exist to measure under these circumstances?
I am assuming the EPA has these because it's written up the way that you have to do it. And that's kind of what we're waiting for, to try to find out and find out how much it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
But see, it creates a second problem. So now we get this measurement device and we have to have it out on the side of the road when this single motorcycle goes by.
Yeah, I know.
Get that reading. Well, okay, how long are we going to sit out there? You know, there's some logistical things. Then we're going to complicate matters. That now, okay, I got a measurement on this solo motorcycle, so now I'm going to go after it, and he doesn't stop. I can't do anything about it then anyway.
There's no camera set up that you can put near the device so that you get the license plate.
And even if I do that and he comes, I go meet up with him later as a former prosecutor, yeah, I wasn't driving. How do I prove who was driving?
I know that's the same as the red light cameras. That's why you don't get points on your license. They just go for your money.
As a former prosecutor, you understand where we're coming from. It is very frustrating. Trust me, it's very frustrating.
I know. Everybody wants to prosecute. I know I do. Is there anyone else on the board who has a question for Officer Bales?
Yeah, how about a free dinner at Silva Grill or Cafe Classico for the patrolman who can sit out there with a measuring device and grab the guys as they stop at Main.
I'll see what I can do.
There are a lot of folks in the building who will probably buy several dinners.
Oh, I'm sure. And trust me, I would be more than happy to sit out there. I thoroughly enjoy going out and doing my job. But again,
No, I understand.
If there aren't any more questions from the board, I want to invite the people who are involved with this issue to turn your cameras back on, please, and your microphones. And I'll take questions as I see people raise their hand. Jim Lample, would you, and by the way, would you identify the building that you live in?
Sure.
So we can track where the issues are.
Jim Lample from the Jewel condominium at the intersection of Lower Main and Gulf Stream. Officer Bales, I've been communicating with your police department for a long time, as have many residents along the Bayfront complaining about this issue going back years, way pre-COVID. As for the speeding, there is equipment available, and I would be happy to make a donation so that we don't keep using that excuse that we don't have money for the proper equipment and training. I've been hearing that for a long time. Second, your chief engaged me in an email conversation a month ago and was happy to send me a citation report. It seems that you are in the traffic department, but you don't know how many citations you've given on that stretch, but I do, because I got the report. It averages about 1 citation every 3 days, Officer Bales. That's not enforcement. Third, hundreds of us face the Bayfront. We watch this parade and the revving and the ear popping and crackling day in and day out. And the worst of it starts Friday afternoons around 4 o'clock and it goes through Sunday. It's mostly joyriding because the same vehicles are identified and they come back over the bridge toward the city with about a half hour later. So we see the same parade of vehicles, and I can name them for you. So there is literally no enforcement. There is almost no visibility. I live in that stretch. I walk it every day. I have rarely seen a police car or a radar or a speed trap. And this has been an ongoing problem. And we are getting really tired of hearing the excuses. The facts are there is almost no enforcement, and there are very few speeding tickets given, considering the preponderance of speeders.
Jim, did you have a question for the officer?
Yeah, my question is, officer, how much does it cost to buy the equipment? Because there are several of us who would consider purchasing it for you so we can move beyond the excuse that we don't have equipment, we don't have training. Thank you.
And officer, if you don't know, you can always get back to me and we'll, maybe we can have someone assist in that.
Okay, we do have limited amounts of speed measuring devices, albeit lasers and radars. Most of the officers that are here, I think we have 20 to 25 lasers and just a handful of radars. There is a difference between the measuring devices. The problem that comes in, again, and I'm going to reiterate, there's a total of 4 assigned to the traffic unit officers, 2 that work in the evening times. We have 10 officers assigned to patrol zones throughout the days. The patrol officers are responsible for handling calls. The traffic officers are responsible for conducting the speed enforcement in the problem areas and the complaints such as these. Again, there's 4 of us that are handling issues for the entire city. If we put all 4 of us out there on the bridge every day and they see everybody out there, yes, We will definitely get some people. Obviously, we've been out there. We know we've been out there. It's been documented we're out there. Do people speed there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? No, they don't. Are we doing our best? Absolutely. Are they not getting the numbers that you guys or Jim is happy with? For that, I apologize. Enforcement is being done. We are out there. We're sending people out there. Clearly, it's not the issue of speeding that we're getting that many people.
Is there,
Betty.
is this Carol Kleinberg?
Yeah. So
Carol, identify your building, please, and where it is.
I'm in Bay Plaza. And I'm wondering if, since we're hearing about what we can't do, I'd like to be able to move the discussion to what we can do. Is it possible to put speed bumps in, which would slow down the traffic and would perhaps allow the vehicles to make other choices of where they're going to speed? Is it possible to put one of those electronic signs up? Elka Lanfer, the chair of our noise abatement committee in the building, did a lot of research. Elka, perhaps you can come up with explain some of the things that you've come up with. There are a lot of other options open to us that don't require manpower, that will diminish the desire and the opportunity to speed and to create so much noise. The noise is honestly, it's mind-boggling how offensive the noise is and how frequent it is.
What was your question, Carol?
Is there some way that we can discuss, are there other options open to us other than having a traffic officer sit there and wait for a speeder?
Well, if I could, before Officer Bales weighs in, be aware that he's a police officer. So
right.
His, his universe involves enforcement of laws. The city would be the people that would decide about speed bumps and things like that.
Actually,
Officer Bales,
actually, it would be DOT because it is a state
well,
road.
Yes, you're right. It's a state road, right?
And the bridge both are state roads. So it would all be ultimately up to Department of Transportation and to the city of Sarasota about what they're going to do and what can be done. Again, we are trying to do enforcement. We are very limited on our resources. Patrol officers cannot get out there as much as they can because their responsibility is answering calls for service for citizens. That is their primary objective. So if a call comes out in downtown and they have to send 2 officers, it takes 2 officers from downtown to go to that call. It frees up some, they can't go to the bridge, they can't go to the bayfront and do the speed enforcement. When they're done with that, they have reports to write, they have this, they have that. Yes, they have the tools. If they have time to do the enforcement, I don't know. That's something that is a supervisor thing at that point. I can tell you, yes, we sit there. I know for a fact we were there Friday night doing drive sober or get pulled over campaign is what we're in the middle of. We're there doing that. We were sitting on the bridge. We were sitting right at Ringling and Bayfront Drive. And I know they got a couple of them off the bridge and nobody on Bayfront Drive in the timeframes that we were there. So again, DOT, city commission, find out from them what some of the ideas are. And I think we discussed that with the Sarasota Bay, was it the Bay Plaza? Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Yes, Elke. We went and I spoke to them and that was the same thing I told you guys, if I'm not mistaken, that that those options of putting anything on the roadway are up to the city commission and DOT. And I'm the one that kind of instigated her to say, listen, the more people you guys have going to the city commission and having them talk to DOT, the better chance of something being done.
Thank you, Officer.
Right. Officer Bales, you
Excuse
were
me,
at
wait,
our,
just a minute,
Bay
just a
Plaza
minute, wait.
meeting.
Elka, is that you speaking?
Yes, it is, but
Okay,
my
can
video
you-
has,
Can you put your video on?
I did, but it says the host has disabled my video. Can you put me back on?
Sure. Yeah.
It says the host has disabled it.
Okay, where are you on here?
Elke Lanfar.
Well, as we're looking at it, Elka, just identify your building and then ask your question.
There.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm back on. I'm with Bay Plaza, and I was selected to come up with a committee to see what we can do, find solutions to this noise problem. And Officer Bales, we appreciate you being at Bay Plaza on July 22nd, but we really need to find solutions. So could you help us, or the police chief, or the mayor, or the city manager? Who can help us finding solutions? Is it cameras along the bayfront? Is it speed bumps? Is it what is the solution? We know there are many problems, but where do we go to find solutions?
Officer, do you have suggestions for that?
Honestly, until we get the equipment that we need to do this through EPA and get the approved list of what we're able to do and have people trained to do that, the motorcycle noise, there's really nothing that we're going to be able to do. There's no way that we're going to be able to chase them out of downtown. We can't do that.
Okay, we have been in touch with all of the bayfront condominiums. They're all complaining about the noise. There are quite a few motorcycles and cars, and it is very noisy. It's very disturbing. They're disturbing the peace.
But you understand that it's an evidence issue. That's where the problem comes in. It's very sticky, very sticky. Are there anyone else from the Bayfront who has a question on this issue before we let Officer Bales go for the afternoon?
I have a question.
Marilyn, do you want to put your video on?
It was on, someone took it off.
It's the video gremlin. The video gremlins are always loose. But go ahead and speak, and please tell us the building that you live in.
I may be moving tonight. I'm kidding. I'm in Bay Plaza, and I'm getting confused here whether we're objecting to the noise or the speed, and I don't think they're both the same issue, and I think they have to be separated. And if anything, I think the first thing we should do is find out whether there's any person in town who is more or less, in quotes, in charge of the bikers, and whether we talk to that person first before we go any further to see what they are willing to do to be good neighbors.
Officer, are you aware of a biker gang or anyone that is?
Well, when I was on the DSCA board and I complained about all the bikers, I was laughed at, saying it's the way they give the people at Bay Plaza their middle finger, waking us up in the middle of the night. And I think there's still some of that in it, yeah. But it's silly. That can be worked out. Really.
Could be.
I don't know if they're a gang, if you will, for lack of better terms, a group. I don't know if there's a leader of the group. I really don't know. I just know that it's a very large, when I say large, I'm going to say 15 to 20 group of motorcycles that went downtown last Friday. And they parked downtown on Main Street and were frequenting and whatever establishment they were going to, whether it's one or several. Yeah, do I think they were a little bit too loud? Absolutely. But again, it's an issue that I can't prove that. I don't have the equipment to do it. And again, if I did and I could, I would. Us as an agency, if we could, we would.
Is there no way to have a citywide rule about how much noise you can have after 11 o'clock at night?
The key is enforcement. How do you get the evidence to take it to court?
But first you have to have something
Right.
that is not conforming to what is approved.
I don't know. That would be a question to ask the city commission and or the city attorney, because I know the rule is out there in state law, but I don't know if the city can go more restrictive than what the state law has to offer.
I
So
don't,
that's too much of a legal question for me to even begin to answer.
okay.
Well, Officer, thank you so much for your time. If you have, I'm sorry, there's one more question on this subject. Ted, and mention the building you live in, please.
Yeah, I live in the Regency House at 435 South Gulfstream. We look at the bay. And I'll tell you, Officer Bales, if you're out here between 5 and 7 o'clock on Sunday mornings, you'll catch about 2 or 3 motorcycles speeding. Not noise, they're making noise too, but they're speeding definitely down the street. And it's almost every Sunday morning. For some reason, somebody likes to do it on Sunday morning to kind of make everybody wake up.
Okay, and what, between 5 and 7 a.m.?
Yes.
And which way are they going?
Generally, they're going from north to south. They're coming from what would be the bridge down toward Maria Selby Gardens.
Okay. I will let patrol know that. I will write that. That's something that I can actually use.
Actually, if I could make a suggestion, if Jim mentioned he knows the times that these are occurring, Ted, Elka, Carol, excuse me, and Marilyn, if you note the times and the days that you hear this consistently, that's something to convey to the police so that they can actually focus their enforcement on those times.
Every night between 9 and midnight.
Well,
Every night.
okay, well, you know what? If you would like to send that to me in an email, listen very carefully for a week or so or more. And then when you all get your times together, send them to me and I'll forward them to Officer Bales.
And please make sure that when these complaints are coming in, these are complaints about motor vehicles that are speeding. And I think, again, I understand that there's a problem with the noise. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about the noise coming from the mufflers of the vehicles at this point in time until we get in contact and we get everything we need that we can possibly enforce.
Okay.
Speeding, we can definitely work with.
Okay, I'm gonna be shutting down this conversation now because we have to move on. But if there are additional questions from the people involved, you can feel free to email me and I'll be in touch with Officer Bales. So I hope that that will help people and focus our efforts on the type of enforcement that can actually make it through court, because there's no point in having a dangerous chase when you can't even enforce it in court. So, so please, we'll be happy to act as a liaison at least for the next month or so. Officer Bales, I want to thank you very much for coming, and I really, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you and the other officers are doing. I want to tell you, you don't have to stick around for the rest of the meeting, but you're more than welcome to. And
thank you very much.
You know, please give our regards to the other officers who are also trying to assist with this.
I will. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, officer. Have a good evening. The next thing on the agenda is that we have a new Silver Associate member. This is under new business, and that person or group of people or business is called Trademark Interiors. Am I correct there, Patrick?
Yes.
And we just need the board to approve that. Is those members of the board?
Well, I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. A second, please.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Ken.
Oh, there you are. Thank you, Ken. There's so many blocks on here. I'm having a hard time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And let me just ask one more time, is Peter Fanning on? Okay, so we don't have Peter yet. So, okay, thank you, everyone except Peter, who was absent. And now we're on to number 5, which is old business, and that's an update from Patrick Allen.
Yes, so previously we had discussed on the board that we were going to hire a marketing administrator to handle a lot of the logistics of our meetings and our emails, communications, et cetera. And we went through that process, described it, had bids out, and did a final interviews with 3 of those. And Natalie and I agreed that the top prospect that really met our needs and would do so at the price we needed was Pro It Out Marketing. Founder is Laura Kressel. And so we've begun working with her, and she's been helping us right now. She's working with me directly as we plan the next major newsletter going out. And so we're assembling the articles for that, and I'm trying to hand off as much as I can to her. So I just wanted to introduce, I don't know if she got on. I didn't see her listed on here. She was tied up in another meeting this afternoon, was going to try and, I think, get on. If not, but you.
Auditor, no. Is Laura on? I guess not, sorry.
Oh, yeah, there was a phone call.
What was the firm name, Patrick?
Pro It Out. They're doing work with other downtown groups. She does Destination Downtown Sarasota and several other organizations in Sarasota that she's done marketing for. And there's opportunities for cross-marketing, but from our interactions so far, she's got a great deal of expertise, and we're just trying to be very mindful of the cost and time and keep it focused on the initial activities. And as the board moves forward with its strategy development, that's going to then inform how we want to move forward in terms of the kinds and the types of communications. For example, some of you may notice that are on here, the calls from our residents and others, that when you register for a meeting, often at the bottom of that is a checklist of areas of interest, topics of interest. And we have begun gathering that. We've not done a major effort, but we could begin to use that possibly to do targeted news information of a select type. So if there's a particular topic of interest, instead of sending it out to 200 or 300 people, it could go out maybe to 10 or 50, 70 people who have a topic interest in that area. So those are some of the things we're trying to look at building, and Laura will be a key part of that. I just want to give everybody an update, so you might happen to see her name on emails related to the work we're doing. Any questions from the board? Or?
Anyone? No questions?
Okay. All right.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. Now our city update with John Moran. John, your mic isn't on. Cannot hear you. Your mic, okay.
To let you know that the Downtown Improvement District has just completing lighting the trees in 5 Points Park, South Palm Avenue, and State Street, and are starting to light up Lemon Avenue from First Street to Pineapple, including parts of Paul Farm Park. So shortly, we're going to have a rather spectacular downtown with the hopes that we create an environment that encourages, rather assists the businesses who are facing a challenge. It's pretty bleak out there when you take a cruise down the retail-centric streets. You're finding that they're pretty much vacant, absent of pedestrian activity. So hopefully we'll complete this by the end of this month. At least we'll have an environment that's inviting, and hopefully we might have a little bit of better control of the pandemic. The DID board is almost to the point of being a little panicky, and we're about to come up with some promotion, advertising campaign. And the party that we're probably going to use is the same party that the Downtown Sarasota Condominium Association has just agreed to hire, Pro It Out with Laura. We'll be funding maybe up to $100,000 through the Merchants Group, for which she is doing work already. So we're just beginning to start that. So with the combination of an environment that's inviting and advertising promotion that we're going to organize and plan probably to hit the street by season. That's going to be the effort of the Downtown Improvement District anyway, to try to put some life into downtown, and season isn't that far away. So that's an update on what we're doing, and that concludes my report.
Thanks, gentlemen. I think if we ever needed the DID, this is the year. You've got your work cut out for you. Does anyone have any questions for John or about the downtown that John might be able to cover?
No, I just want to say that I think the lights look terrific downtown. It's a great addition. So
I agree.
sorry there are not more people buying things.
There will be. They have to come out sooner or later. But I think the DID does tremendous work to assist everyone in feeling that there's still hope. There's hope that the downtown is still alive. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. At this point,
Eileen?
yes, who's
Just related to that, people have been observing the farmers market open on Saturday. I happened to walk by there this past Saturday and was pleasantly surprised. I would say 90% everyone walking was face masked and walking in their aisles, at least along Lemon there, for the most part of that. And so it all seemed to be certainly not the crowds of yesteryear, but enough people out there. It seemed like most of the booths had one or two, people there. Some of them had lines of people waiting to purchase food or something. I don't know, Roger, have you observed or lately the last week or two at the farmers market? You're
Roger,
muted.
your mic is off.
Patrick is absolutely right. They are attracting people. The dilemma, of course, is you can be too successful and be overwhelmed with people, and as a result, be at risk. But it seems like the opening and the spacing is working, and is effective. And I haven't talked to any individual vendors recently. Some were disappointed with the turnout in the beginning, but I think it's improving.
Just to add that the former manager of the farmers market is in touch with me to present to the DID board in its October meeting, a midweek market, smaller market, safer market, again, to hopefully bring some people downtown during the week. So that discussion is just starting. I assume he's going to ask for some financial assistance from the DID. So, but we're going to be considering that. And so possibly in the month of October, we may be seeing a midweek market that's being called he refers to it as a micro market. Probably occurring, well, I'm not sure where it's going to occur. So more to report possibly in the next DSCA board meeting when I'll have more information on that.
Thanks, John. Patrick?
Yeah, John, there used to be a midweek farmers market at 5 Points Park. I forget what it was, like on Tuesday or Wednesday during the lunchtime, middle of the day. And I remember going by there and it seemed popular, especially with people going out, grabbing a snack for lunch or something. And if there were any way to bring in the arts so that while this is going on, you've got performers. And now that after 5 months, the benches are out of jail, 5 Points Park has been opened up. Our 3 remaining benches are finally available for us citizens to use. So that I think might be an area of consideration to draw people there, open space. And so.
Yeah, but it contributed a financial assistance to the midweek market at 5 Points Park years ago. So whether that's part of Phil Pagano's ideas that he's going to present, I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
John, I wonder, this may be crazy, but I wonder if there's any merit in having some sort of an evening farmer's market, sort of around dinner time, under all the twinkly lights you're hanging, and for people to come and purchase food and then stay and eat at the restaurants.
Well, that's an interesting point. When Phil and I have our conversation, I'm going to relay your idea.
That'd be great.
Actually, the Rosemary District has been doing that. David Lowe would remember dates of when they were like once a month on Thursdays or something over on May Lane in the evening, entertainment.
David, can you put your, can you come back to us, David? David Lowe?
Or
There you are, and put your video on.
Am I there?
There you are. David, do
Hi.
you know if that was successful?
Actually, in the end, I think marginally. I think in the beginning it was, what was it, the first Thursday in May or something like that. And I believe it was successful for the first couple months. And then, it petered out as we got into the middle of the summer. The number of people, the weather to some extent, they may have made a bad choice in the entertainment they selected for one of the events. And I think in the end, it just kind of went away. I think Josh Weiner has kind of wanted to bring it back, but it was kind of iffy from the beginning and proved to kind of disappear temporarily. I haven't talked to Josh recently, but I certainly can reach out to he or Melody Odell, the building manager of Cityside, and see if I can get an update for you folks.
A couple of questions. Was the evening market near any restaurants, or was it just on its own?
It was on its own with food trucks, and they're really Spice Station is a block and a half away, but it really wasn't competing with anything there. There were a couple of the food trucks were pretty popular, I think, but again, it just combination of weather and seasonality kind of did it in after the novelty of it slightly wore off. There's just not quite the critical mass population-wise yet, and I think there might be some time in the next 3 or 4 years, but right now there's just not that mass of folks to populate it, in my opinion.
I'll bet you don't have those twinkly lights either.
That's you put twinkly lights.
Those twinkly lights are the answer to everything for the downtown. Roger.
The bad news for downtown, and you may or may not know this, is that the store sur la table is closing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty, that's an important anchor for the downtown. And so I think we ought to monitor what's happening, and maybe as residents, we did a program at one time in which residents supported downtown restaurants. We had a relationship with them as an organization. So I think it's important for us to keep track of what's happening and do what we can, whatever that is, to help downtown businesses.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen South Palm Avenue. It has been referred to the jewel of the street for downtown Sarasota. There are about 4 vacancies. And so that street has gone from a jewel to something that's looking pretty sad. So yeah, this is a problem. It's quite a challenge for retailers during the pandemic.
It's just horrifying. Anything else from the board before I open it up to guests? Jim, you had your hand up? Jim Lau?
Yeah. We all know what's happening to retail, and the potential for getting new retailers to take some of the space is going to be rather glum. We all know that. Almost everything that Latab sells, you can get over the internet. And more people are glued to the internet for their stuff. The other thing about Farmers Market, as I understand, Phil resigned a month or two ago and Morgan has taken over the position, right, John?
Travis, can't think of his last name, the chair of the Farmers Market Board.
Yeah, he's the chair, but Morgan's the director, took Phil's position. And 2-3 years ago, Phil did do a trial at 5 Points Park on, I think it was Thursday evenings, and it was a total failure. For one thing, it couldn't get enough critical mass of customers. The other thing is the farmers, unless it could be really profitable, they didn't want to show up. So consequently, only about maybe 10 vendors showed up. So you didn't have enough vendors to make it worthwhile. So that plan failed. That was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, because the DID provided some financial assistance for the market at 5 Points Park.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all love it. We'd all love to see more farmers market, but there's not going to be a critical mass. We can't fill up the one now during the COVID.
And we don't want to fill it up. That's the problem. You're desperate to fill it up, but you can't fill it up because of the difficulties. All right, very briefly, Elka, you had your hand up.
How about, what do you think of the idea of the farmers market at 5 Points on the first Friday of the month when some of the stores are open late, the art galleries are open late, there are more people downtown, and having the market on the first Friday of the month?
John, do you want to tackle that? Or
Yeah, that's a discussion with Phil Pagano, who probably has the skill sets and the knowledge as to the most appropriate time where the opportunity is time-wise. So I would rely on his experience for the ideas.
Thank you. We're going to go to the next issue here, which is the events committee. We just recently had an event, and I'm going to ask Kristen Forey if she can reappear and put her microphone on. Boy, I miss having these meetings in person.
So I can't restart my video.
I think Patrick's the video fixer. Well, Kristen, while we're waiting to see if your video can get started, do you want to give us some kind of an update about the 20th there you are. The 20th webinar that we just had, Ask an Attorney.
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. We had a couple of fun behind the scenes things go on, which we love with the Zoom stuff. But I think it went really well. We had some good panelists, got some good information. We did create a little bit of heat, but then at the end there with the questions, that's what these things are for, is to get our questions answered out there. So I think it went really well.
Do you have any idea, do you or Jamie or Patrick, these are the 3 members of the committee who plan these events and deserve a tremendous amount of credit for it. Do you have any idea how many registered, how many showed up? Patrick, you do.
Yeah. So there were 70 people that registered for the event. We had close to 50 or so that were in attendance for most of that time for that. So, and again, given that we had bounced back and forth, originally trying to do it as a hybrid with those who could go on site. When we started planning that months ago, we had thought, well, surely in 3 months things will have improved and we could do that. So again, we were trying to roll with the changes and understandings, and I want to publicly let Kristen know how much we appreciated her stepping in to help run the event. And with all the ups and downs, we're kind of out of all of our hands in terms of trying to decipher what's both what we can legally do within the rules and restrictions, and then what the marketplace would accept. And through that communications, we got feedback that right now, let's keep it with the webinars, and so we'll focus on that. And there will be some more things we can do with it, that focus. And this is where, again, having our marketing administrator to help us in planning these things that were more topically oriented. So yeah, now also Laura Kressel has been working with us on the video. So we've taken the video of the Ask the Attorney, and that's going to be posted online, and that'll be coming out, links to that in our newsletter here shortly in the next few days. So that's another thing that we're doing, is to try and provide some added insight information that goes into those videos to help people and better understand them, and actually have more value in the market for more people who could not attend in person to go back and look at that and for that. So that's coming.
Yeah, I personally, I watched the whole thing and thought it was well done. Well done, and a lot of good questions, and I just don't know what more you could ask for than to hang out with a bunch of attorneys. I know it was just great fun. That was a rhetorical question. There will be no other comments on that.
Can I say too, Eileen, thank you for your kind words. We had a few last minute edits on those questions, just so everybody knows, and because I had a full day that day, unfortunately, Jake did not get the final full list of the new questions. So really kudos to Jake at First Service who offered to moderate. Hi, Jake. We didn't mean to throw him under the bus, but I thought he did really well catching up and just kind of going with the flow there. So, I mean, these are Zoom things that happen. So,
yeah, it did very well, Jake, and thank you to you as well. And I think it was very useful. Lots of good questions about life in condominiums. So when we send out that link, you would, I'm sure, enjoy it as much as I did. Thank you, Kristen. Is there anything else?
We're planning another event, and it's probably going to be online, but we haven't gotten to the stage yet of how and the logistics of all that, but stay tuned. We'll be doing another one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The Green Space Committee now is Patrick.
Okay, we've not had a meeting for that, but this is one of the areas that I was trying to wait till after we got through this other webinar. We had begun planning for a event or possible webinar on walkability and climate adaptation for that, but due to the different speakers we had, their schedules, so we're looking at possibly rescheduling that. But in reviewing the I mentioned earlier, the interest list, there was quite a few people who had expressed interest in that topic of green space, and there is related information going on out there. There's other webinars, there's other activities. I know the city right now is trying to look at the next steps with their urban forestry program. I've actually been invited to be on a conference call with Marlon Brown and others on city staff and some other civic people involved from CCNA next week. And so I think Ted Wilson, you were invited hopefully on that too. So we're going to see what the city's ability to support work like that would be and what role we can take. And if there's support from city staff in that area, then we can formulate ideas there, bring it back to the board or have a committee meeting and discuss that in terms of what might be the recommendations and bring those back to the DSCA board. So that's our update.
Terrific. Any questions for Patrick? Is there anyone here who doesn't wish there were more trees out this time of year? That's also rhetorical. Now, the Homeless Committee is Peter Fanning, and I don't think he's been able to join us today, so we'll let that go for today. Safety Committee, Jamie, is there anything at all?
I don't have any updates for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Transportation is Roger Barry, and Roger, your mic's off.
Okay. Well, the roundabouts under construction on US 41 should be wrapped up by November and completed. That's good news in that context. There's a discussion for when the construction of Gulfstream occurs about how to deal with pedestrian.
Leave a message after the tone.
Okay, deal with pedestrians trying to cross trying to cross Tamiami, and the possibility of a temporary pedestrian bridge where the current hawk lights are at the Ritz Drive. Don't know any more about that. I've put in a couple of calls, haven't gotten additional information on that. Another interesting development, it's outside of downtown, but FDOT is currently doing preliminary planning on redoing Fruitville from Washington Boulevard 301 to Interstate 75. And they're looking at making it a complete street with accommodations for pedestrians, bicycles, transit, and vehicles, narrowing the lanes, making it safer. And they're currently collecting data and information from citizens who have an interest. There's a website that you can go to and give your opinions on that. And I think that's going to be an interesting process of changing that street to a different kind of street than it is currently. That concludes my comments at this point.
Thank you, Roger. Any questions for Roger? Comments, questions? Ken?
I just have a comment, and that is, I hope that if the city commission finds out about this, that it will move them to do something about our part of Fruitville.
Yes.
And my comment to that is that if and when they repropose the road diet, that they have an interim plan for rerouting the traffic that will otherwise be squeezed out. So that's my comment. Any other board member right now with a comment? Patrick.
Yes, just that the Fruitville roundabout construction right now is, I believe, just a few days away from shifting the southbound traffic into the roundabout. Fruitville coming in will still be closed for a few more months or something, but that's going to be a big shift there. And there was a big discussion that when they do that, they're going to be closing off the pedestrian bicycle pathway along the west side of 41. And therefore, the only pedestrian way to go from Boulevard of the Arts down to downtown along 41 will be on the east side, which has had significant construction with the BOVDA and other projects along there. That the question is it safe for full public transit, including wheelchairs and walkers or anything else? So that is a legitimate question that was raised, and I think people should take a look. And I'm just saying, be aware that transiting pedestrian or bike along 41 the next few weeks or few months might be considered to be difficult.
Other board members with questions. Roger, I have a question. During the construction of the Gulfstream roundabout, can we expect that this will have some effect on the traffic speed, that the issue that we were talking about this afternoon, as they start to reroute the traffic in all kinds of strange and wondrous ways?
Well, of course, the intent of using the roundabouts in the first place is to reduce the speeds and to change Tamiami into an urban boulevard. It's going to be an interesting process to watch people change from driving 45 mile an hour to 25 or 30 mile an hour through the roundabouts. And of course, eliminating the red lights and the wait periods makes these streets, well, the data says up to 40, 50% more efficient. That's one of the reasons why they're doing this, and significantly safer, because you reduce deaths by 90%, injuries by 65 to 70%. May not reduce fender benders, but those are part of the cost of changing how this works.
Roger, do you know of any statistics, and this is not fair for me to ask you this, but I'll do it anyway, about motorcycles in roundabouts? Are there accidents, we're talking about two wheels, and if you go too fast around to get on the bridge now, coming north, they will have to go 3/4 of the way around the roundabout to get onto the bridge. I'm wondering what the accident rate is on a roundabout for motorcycles, number one, and number two, whether the smaller the roundabout versus, the circumference of the roundabout, whether that impacts accidents for motorcycles.
There's a lot of information about bicycles and using roundabout. I have not seen any information about motorcycles. I think they're considered similar to regular vehicles in that context, but no, I have not seen anything on motorcycles.
Okay. If there's nothing more from the board, is there anything from the guests? Ted?
Yeah. A week and a half ago, we had a prep board meeting, and Steve Cover came in regards to the surrender statue, and they're going to have to move it for the Gulfstream roundabout, and they've come up with 3 or 4 different places that they'd like to put it, and I think that they probably are looking for us at the prep board for some input on some ideas on how we felt about the different locations they had. Evidently, if they can move the statue and relocate it in the same time period, so to speak, as putting it into storage, there's a significant amount of dollar savings. And so they are looking for input. If anybody wants to call the planning department, I think is who is pretty well in charge of that. I don't know. Patrick may have a better idea on that than I do. Second of all, do we have any idea when that Gulfstream roundabout's going to start, Roger?
Yeah, it starts this winter, but I don't think they're going to have to move the statue until after season, or at least sometime in that time frame.
Yeah, Steve said it was going to be in April or May when they were going to move it. And they have to move the other one as well, and they're going to move the red one. They're going to move it temporarily over to the Sarasota Art Museum, and then they'll be able to move it back to its current location. But surrender cannot go back in its current location.
Right.
I'm in the process. I'm drafting a letter to the City Commission based on the unanimous vote of the Downtown Improvement District Board of Directors to keep unconditional surrender exactly where it is or approximately where it is. So, and there's a lot of support here at Marina Tower because the person that led the fight to bring unconditional surrender back to where it is now was led by the one and only art chair of the Downtown Sarasota Condominium Association, Tom Savage. So in part, the reason that is there is because of him. Fortunately, we had a gift from a veteran that paid for it. But just to let you know, there's some strong feelings, at least on the part of the board of directors and myself, that we don't consider unconditional surrender to be art. It's an attraction. So it should be out of the jurisdiction of the Public Art Committee. And we're urging that it be removed from the jurisdiction of the Public Art Committee because its popularity is undeniable because I'm looking at it right now. And so just to let you know what the Downtown Improvement District is endeavoring to do and hopefully influence the City Commission to, if it has to be temporarily moved, that it be brought back to its approximate position where it is now.
John,
just a moment. Wait, who's speaking?
Ted.
Hey, Ted, wait, I'll call on you then. Go ahead, but let me catch your hand first. Go ahead.
The prep board suggested, John, that they move in one of the locations that Steve gave us was in the entrance into the Tiki Bar, Larry's in the Bayfront Park at Ringling and 41. That was the suggestion that was most popular with our board.
Okay.
Interesting.
Clark, were you raising your hand or?
Yeah, what's planned for the center of the roundabout? Is there going to be a statue there? Is there going to be
There's
piece
going
of
to be
sculpture?
artwork. Yes, there will be artwork there. I don't think it's selected yet.
Could
No,
the sta-
no.
could no? Okay.
No,
Just
that'd be
dangerous.
dangerous
Wondered.
because people are always crossing that road to get to that statue. We'd be just picking them off,
Pictures.
3 times a week. Jim and then Marilyn, briefly.
Yeah, John, I respectfully disagree with you. I have to look at that statue, which we all agree is not artwork, which unanimously by the art committee was agreed that it was never artwork. Virginia Hoffman is a friend of mine, and she's also an art critic. I would be in favor, also for safety reasons, of getting it off the sight line of that intersection. That's going to be hard to navigate, and it's going to be a safety factor if people are going to be looking at that when they're making 2 lanes of circles. My vote is for putting it on City Island or the Tiki Hut. I don't care.
Okay, I'm good.
There are just as many people who are for moving it as there are in the DID. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to interrupt now because we have the mayor here, and we only have her for a few minutes. She's just breathing heavy, running from one meeting to the next. So, Mayor, welcome.
Thank you.
And well, shall I just open it up to you to tell us, is there anything new and exciting we should know about the city right now?
Anything new and exciting about the city? Yes, there's so many new things and exciting. And I wish I'd gotten in on your conversation so I could hear your discussion more about unconditional surrender. I'm really interested in all the input that we're getting lately about it. So to move on, I know that I was asked to speak about address the traffic. That has been a big issue, and it continues to be an issue with COVID. Again, not making any excuses, but we do seem to be having a bigger problem than normal with people speeding, going over the bridge speeding, going 100 miles an hour. It's been really, really a challenging thing, not only for Gulfstream, but also North Tamiami Trail, Coconut, Central Avenue, and lots of the neighborhood streets where people are trying to just I don't know. And maybe they're happy to get out and about. I don't know what the phenomenon is, but they are speeding. And I know the police are trying to ticket as much as they can. I asked the police for numbers, and since the beginning of the year, they have issued 236 tickets or warnings on Gulfstream and over the Ringling Bridge. I wanted to get some stats on the 2 roundabouts that are going in at 14th Street and 10th Street. We did have 7 incidents at 14th Street. 3 were accidents, 2 of which the people didn't even yield, slow down, enter the roundabout properly. They just went straight through it. So one was south to north, and one was north to south. One was pretty early in the morning. The person just didn't see that there was a roundabout and went straight through it and actually hit the curbing, went over it, landed, ruined the new curbing that was put in place, landed, and then totaled their car upon landing. The other one was a gentleman and his girlfriend were fighting, and I guess he wasn't paying attention to the roundabout, and he just drove, again, like straight into it. There was one that was going north to south, and there were 2 cars. They were parallel, so it wasn't actually in the roundabout. And the car in front of this car, which would be on the outside lane, the car in front of it just jammed on their brakes, and so this car switched lanes to avoid hitting and hit the car next to it. So that wasn't really a roundabout accident. That was just before the roundabout. And then the other 4 were minor, bumps or fender benders. So really, not, aside from the 2 that were crazy, not even going around the roundabout, not much to report there. But I know you wanted me to address that. And also I was asked, the deputy police chief said, if you have any questions about traffic or traffic issues or the Ringling Bridge or any of these things, please ask me and I will forward those questions on. And I'm happy to answer any questions. We do have a lot going on. We've got a meeting on Tuesday in September. It's a rather small agenda in comparison with our normal agendas. And we do have the budget coming up, and that's going to be on the 10th. So that's a really important meeting that we'll be having our budget meetings coming up. And other than that, you know, we're switching to Zoom. And so you're able to join like here and speak at the city commission meetings. In addition to being present at the city hall, we have 2 rooms now, those who wear masks and those who don't wear masks. And you're still also able to submit comments like before to the city auditor and clerk. So we've just added one more element to be able to speak from your own home and present public comment via Zoom. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Any board members have any questions for the mayor? Any of the guests have questions for the mayor? Goodness gracious. Mayor, is there anything new with the COVID situation in the city?
Well, you know, we are maintaining our ordinance, which is the mask ordinance, as you all know, and you know what the restrictions are for that. I hope you do anyway. We did extend it for another 60 days, and that starts this month, yesterday. And the age, we were unsuccessful in lowering that. I thought that we should have lowered it. That did not work. So the age remains 18 and older. And so nothing new with aside from that with our mask ordinance. The numbers in the state are still hovering at about 13% positivity, between 10 and 13%. The county, I know there was a backlog of test results getting handed back in. So we were on a sort of a decline and then they jumped back up again. And they're headed back down again. So that's a good thing that our numbers are on the decline, but that also speaks to the amount of testing that's been decreased a little bit. And in the city, our numbers are going down at a slightly faster rate than they're going down in the county. I don't know what we can attribute that to, but our numbers in the city are really declining very, very nicely. So that's making me very, very happy.
Great.
I guess a silly question is, do you have code enforcement there handing out summonses to the people that are in the room that refuse to wear a mask at City Hall?
No, we just created a special room for the people who, and let's say refuse to wear a mask is maybe not the right thing, I should say, because we do have an element of the ordinance that says that if for any reason you have a physical reason why you can't wear masks, that you can just say, I can't wear them for whatever physical reason that is, and you don't have to say what it is and you don't have to prove it. So we just have to take you on your word. And so we do have at least one person who has said they can't wear the mask. So refusing to wear a mask is probably not the right statement. I should probably take that back.
Oh, well, no, I said that. You said that, so I'll take
okay.
that. Just to pass on a word from Officer Bales, who was just here discussing the issue of noise on the Bayfront. Evidently, they're looking into a piece of equipment from the EPA that they don't own that may help them actually gather evidence of muffler noise. And so I just want to make you aware of that. They don't own it. He couldn't tell us what it cost, but he said they're in the process of contacting the EPA. So I don't know if that would fit in the budget or if it's a very high budget item. I don't know anything more, but hopefully we'll get some more information. Any board members who have any questions? Okay, Jim, you had your hand up. Jim Lample has a question.
Hi. Jen, I'd like to commend you and the commission for making masks mandatory in the city. And I don't think it's a coincidence from our demographics and the universal mask wearing. that we have lower numbers than in the county and certainly the state. I think you can be commended for that. And I know you got a lot of pushback at the beginning. Number two is I was very disappointed in Officer Bales. He came to this meeting unprepared and he knew that there were going to be questions about the traffic. He didn't bother. He didn't even know the numbers of citations, speeding citations or incidents. I've already gotten that report, and he made a lot of excuses for not having the equipment and not having the manpower after telling us he had 4 full-time traffic officers during the weekdays and 2 on weekends. So I hope that you would carry this to the commission and make this an issue and find out why from our city manager, who the chief reports to, why we have a culture of laissez-faire about these issues.
Sure, I will
you.
absolutely. I will relay that. Thank you for your comments. One more thing about COVID, I will pass that along. But again, to repeat the number, it's 236 tickets and warnings since the last 8 months. So about 30 a month and 1 a day.
Okay, and I am not, I appreciated the officers being here. He's boots on the ground. He's not senior management.
I did have one more thing to add about COVID, though.
Please.
I did want you all to know that, so I requested a little while ago to put together a sort of ad hoc advisory group per COVID. And this group is at the hospital, Sarasota Memorial Hospital. So it's Dr. Fiorici, it's Dr. Manny Gordillo. There's another doctor, I can't remember her name, and I believe Dr. Washington Hill is part of the group as well. There may be 4 or 5 doctors at Sarasota Memorial Hospital that have formed this group. And so anytime we at the city as a government have any questions about, should we, what do they recommend for, continuing to wear masks? What do they recommend for anything that would impact our policy making, the age, for example, and so on and so forth, schools opening and all of that. So it's not us as policymakers guessing or doing our own independent research and coming to 5 different conclusions. They actually are giving us a formal recommendation on anything COVID related. So we are getting not only medical experts recommendations, but also local medical experts recommendations. So, and they've made themselves available to other government groups. So Venice has, can access it, and the city of Northport, the county, the school board. So they've actually sort of formalized this group. And I check in pretty often, I would say weekly, with Dr. Fiorici and or Dr. Gordillo. So I do have a direct and a pretty frequent communication with our local medical experts.
That's terrific and was a really good idea. Clark, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is the city doing, separating the numbers from the county? I mean, it seemed to me the county was doing all the testing. Does the city do its own testing and track its own numbers?
So the city does not do its own testing. Our testing is coordinated with the county and the state. However, David Lowe, who is in the Rosemary district.
He's right here. He's on. He's on.
David,
yes.
Wherever David is. I can't see. I only have 9 panels here. But David can talk to you more about how he breaks it out. He breaks it out by the city zoning codes. And so he's been tracking those numbers. And he's broken out into 4 zoning codes, and he has the numbers over the last 14 days, and he has a graph, and each zoning code has its own color. Thank you, David. And you can see where we were 14 days ago and then where we are today, and how all of them are trending downward, with the exception of, I think, the last day or 2. There's a slight uptick. So David can speak to you more about doing that. Thank you, David, for that work. I look at it every day, as you know, and I really appreciate you doing that and putting that together for us. And I'm sure he can make that available to you guys as well.
And Mayor, to clarify, I've broken it by zip code. And
did I say area code? I'm sorry.
Yeah, or zoning codes, but it's zip codes. And I've shared that from time to time with Eileen, and I'm happy to send today's work to Eileen for greater distribution. But
I will be happy to share it. And yes,
Okay, and I hope it's only, I'm only as good as the data that I'm getting, and but it does put it in a picture form to the extent the
makes
numbers
it
are
usable.
accurate. So,
Yeah, thank you
yep,
very
okay.
much for this.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Roger, you have questions. Oh, your mic's off, Roger. Roger, your mic.
I apologize. I have another commitment at 5:30.
Oh, okay.
So do I.
No, you do.
And so do I.
Oh my goodness, we're losing all.
I think we all have the same other one, maybe. I don't know. Community workshop.
Could very well be. I don't think David misses any of those. That's for sure. Well, if there aren't any other pressing questions, I just want to thank you for fitting us in.
Oh, I see some. Marilyn has one.
Yeah, for Roger, are you going to open Gulfstream to connect with 41 heading north? I know you like roundabouts. Is that one of the options, to open Gulfstream heading north and west?
Is that for Roger, for me?
Either one who will answer it.
No, Roger is gone.
You knew I was going to ask.
He said goodbye and he was gone.
It's a huge difference to us.
Gulfstream will head north, yes.
So you're going to take away that the red, beautiful architecture?
Oh, no. No, that has to, the complexus has to go away during the construction of the roundabout, as does the unconditional surrender. But I do not believe there are plans to break through and go, well, that would be east, right?
North or
west.
It would
where
be
complexus?
It would be north. You can't go north there.
Well, if you can get into 41, you can go north. But then you have to open up the end of Gulfstream. And that's where at Bay Plaza, and that's a question for us because all of the delivery people will be going through there and we're going to lose our parking spaces.
I don't think that that's planned at the moment, but I can check into that. I can get you the latest plans on that.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate your taking the few minutes you had probably to get a breather between meetings, but we do appreciate it. And
thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you next month.
Yeah, yes, anytime. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Thanks so much. And
thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn now to Mel Sykes. Mel, are you there? I see your name there.
I'm here. I really had nothing to report. We're looking at the zoning text amendments that have been suggested by the city staff on behalf of the Bay. We'll look at those, see if there's impacts outside of that immediate area, and I'll come back with a report to the board.
Thank you.
That's essentially what we're doing at this point.
Thanks very much. Wait a second. Patrick has a question.
Yeah, Mel, just to let you know, one of the questions had come up about some of the zoning text amendment plans from that the city's planning department under Steve Cover had briefed the city on earlier in the year, and he's scheduled to do an update at the planning board meeting next Wednesday afternoon.
I'll tune in. I'll definitely tune in. I saw the agenda today for the
just came up.
Glad to see you guys active again.
So when is the next planning board meeting, Patrick?
Next Wednesday, 1:30.
Okay, seems like you just met, doesn't it? Just last week.
We're making up for lost time.
I know. Any other questions from Mel? Anything about zoning? Okay, thanks. And that was, I didn't say, that was the zoning committee report. The Bay Park Conservancy, this is Bob Parolo. Bob, anything?
Yes. Actually, I spoke with Bill Waddell yesterday for an update. Tells me that the mangrove is about halfway finished right now, and they expect it to be at least partially open by the end of January. They're also they're the existing bridge over the mangroves to the Van Wezel. They're hoping to open that fairly soon. Their plan is for 2021 to begin the second part of phase one, which would be the upland park part of the park, and hope to have that going by 2021. And the thing I was really interested in was on the Sunset Pier. They're hoping to have that begin by early 2022. That requires federal permits. The other thing he said that they've hired or they've retained Bill Merrill as their attorney to help to deal with some of the issues, both with the zoning, city zoning code and the text amendments. And so Bill Merrill will be working on that, and he will also be dealing with some of the litigation issues, or if it's not litigation, but with some of the issues with the Robert Lincoln, the attorney who's representing a group of people who has some issues with some parts of the project. So that's about all I have.
Okay. That's the nearby residents that
Yes.
have the issues, yes. Are there any questions for Bob about the Conservancy? Thank you, Bob. Appreciate your help. Ted Wilson, who will tell us about CCNA. Your mic is muted. Okay.
I was reached out to by Lou, the CCNA board president, about having a meeting this Saturday, and to date, I have not gotten anything back to know if there's going to be one or not. I don't know, Bob, have you heard anything?
I have not, no.
So, I mean, we have not had a meeting since February.
Patrick?
I heard from Lou that the next meeting will be October, what is it, October 3rd or something. So no, there's not a September CCNA meeting, because I thought it was coming up, and so yeah, not till October.
Anything else, Ted?
No.
Okay, I spoke with Lou this morning as well. The one thing I want to say is that in September, I think they're busy working on a candidate forum. And that will be on September 26th at 9 a.m. And, you know, as they did for us, I would like to get word out about that forum. They are expecting to have it in the news pretty soon because it will have all 3 districts in it. So there'll be 6 candidates with the 2 in each district, and a moderator and questions written by the executive committee of CCNA. So that's the 26th at 9 a.m. So I know you all want to put that on your calendar. I do. And we'll mention, yes, sure.
So we have a newsletter coming up here shortly. Is this something you would want DSCA to publicize through our newsletter then?
Yes, I really would. And I was going to discuss that with you because I just got this information. And he as well advertised or put out an email about the forum that the Downtown Sarasota Condo Association did. So we want to return the favor. And of course, it's our civic duty to encourage people to vote and to vote after knowing who's running. Okay, anything further? Any questions for Ted? Okay, thanks, Ted. The Rosemary District Association, I don't see Richard Moans anywhere. David Lowe, are you still here?
No, he's on that other call.
Oh, he's already, he's gone to another Zoom meeting. Goodness gracious. Otherwise, I think we'll skip the Rosemary District Association because those are our 2 sources, unless anyone else has any information. At this point, we've finished the substantive portion of the meeting, and we will turn it over to the Platinum Associates. I think Kristen handles that for us.
I do. I'm not sure if I can enable my video again, but we have a few with us today and a few that could not make it. We have Alex Turner with Associa Gulf Coast.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I am a business development manager with Associate Gulf Coast Management, and we do association management for in Sarasota for high rises, low rises, mid rises. We do it all. So certainly looking forward to meeting all of you in person one day, and happy to tell you about our services, including our signature services for high rise buildings and lifestyle buildings. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. Next we have Building Connections. Allie Huter was not able to be here today. She asked me to mention her. She has 5 companies that she represents: Florida Southern Roofing, D&D Painting, Sean McCutcheon AC, Professional Plumbing. They do residential and commercial plumbing repairs, and Right Way Emergency Services. CBiz is an insurance company. It's actually one of my clients. As a platinum member, I represent, I'm now representing 5 clients again as well. But my platinum member is CBiz. And just so you know, this is a renewal year for managers. So if your manager at your building, it needs to get additional insurance financial management credits with the DBPR. CBiz is offering 3 Zoom classes tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. So please pass that on to your people if they need to collect a quick insurance credit. September 30th is the deadline, so it's good to get that in. Jake with First Service Residential, he was on earlier. Okay, I think he clicked off. I think Lighthouse was on, but they're off. And we have Dee with Nature Zone.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dee, just looking to kill something. Well, no, it's not time. Hey, you know, my motto is nothing too big or small, I get them all. And it's been crazy busy. It's been hotter than Hades, and I'm glad everybody's continuing to be safe. It's nice to see y'all. We're still out there. We're taking care of you. If you need pest control, keep us in mind. It's budget season, and of course, very blessed that we have a huge clientele, and a lot of it is downtown Sarasota, and we're involved with it. And all I can say is, if you need us, give us a call. Thank y'all, and continue to be safe, and we'll see each other soon.
Thank you, Dee.
Thanks, Dee. Next we have either Jim or Michelle with Tannenbaum Scrow.
I'll take back. Can everyone hear me?
Sort of. You sound, yeah.
How about now? Any better?
Yes.
Better. Okay. So again, good afternoon. Thank you for having us. My name is Jim Toll. I'm with the law firm of Tannenbaum, Scrow, LaMole, and Kleinberg. We are primarily construction attorneys. We are not general counsel condominium association attorneys, but we represent a lot of condominium associations. Some people think of us primarily as construction litigators, and that's certainly something that we do. But another service that we provide, and we believe we're uniquely qualified to do it, is to address the planning side. That when you contract with a design professional or a contractor to provide contract review services for you. And again, we believe we're uniquely qualified because we deal with the back end of projects that do not go well. And probably 2 of the largest issues that we look at is, what's the dispute resolution provision in the contract? Is it very costly and very onerous for the owner meaning the condo association, to discourage you actually pursuing a contractor or a design professional? So that's just, that's part of what we do. It's, but it's an important part of what we do. If you have any, major maintenance contracts, or you're doing significant material alterations to your common elements, and you're hiring contractors to do that. Thank you for having us.
And I just have two more things actually. One is that we are having an event at, if you want to get out, at Rolf's in Sarasota Alan Tannenbaum will be the speaker on aging condominiums, whether or not we should repair them or abandon them. We are also offering it by Zoom, so if you contact me, I'll get you set up for Zoom. And then we had somebody call in this week, which was kind of interesting because it's not our normal area of expertise. So I wanted to present it to you. Maybe you all have an idea of where we can direct this group, but they are part of, I think it's Streets of Paradise from downtown. And they've been stopped service because they need a permit in order to help.
No,
them.
it's much more involved than that.
Okay, so
They actually need a zoning text amendment in order to be able to have showers in the back of the Planned Parenthood. It's a very involved issue.
So who do you recommend, what do you recommend that I refer them to? Because it's not something that's in our area at all.
They're coming to you as an attorney.
They need to ask us where to get help.
Okay, I can tell you all what I know from the people I've spoken to. They were given, I guess Planned Parenthood allowed them to set up showers, et cetera, in the parking lot of Planned Parenthood. That, of course, is not allowed. Planned Parenthood is not zoned for that type of activity, and there were some issues with it. As you can imagine, there were some fights and other things like that. So it turned out it's not just a conditional use in the zoning code. They would actually have to get a zoning text amendment, which would take them 6 to 8 months, if not a year. So that's not an issue. The other problem is they have to be part of the continuum of care for homelessness. They can't just show up and hand out sandwiches. They have to, because the city is working hard to get people into services and things, and that's part of the continuum of care. And the other part of this is that they are being encouraged to go to other parts of the county where these services are needed, so that, such as Venice and other areas, so that Venice and other areas are not importing people. There are people who have come here in an Uber, thanks to other governmental sources that will go unmentioned that are not in the city.
Okay.
So, you know, while their heart is in the right place, their showers are not.
Okay.
So,
okay.
All right. It's a very complicated, it's a much more complicated issue than it's been shown to be in the newspaper. And that's unfortunate.
To direct them to where they can go because it's not us. So that's.
No, the mayor has been very involved in this, I know, and trying to bring everyone together and trying to get the services to the areas where they're really needed.
And that makes sense to bring it down to other areas besides just down.
Because the Salvation Army and other places are now open to provide showers, etc.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Jim, I think we're gonna cut this off here.
There's a point of fact, Your Honor, that is misrepresented. The showers are only on Sundays for 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sundays are not days that the Resi and the Sally have for showering. So, and the other thing, the other misnomer is that Planned Parenthood has a conditional use permit. They do not. They had a rezone in 2006 or 7 as a medical facility. Those are the facts. I just wanted to put that in.
I appreciate that. It is not a conditional use issue. It's a zoning, they would need a zoning text amendment in order to allow that kind of activity in the parking lot.
Only if it's permanent.
That is not necessarily true.
I have the statute in front of me, Eileen. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, we'll talk about it later.
Thank you for answering my question.
You know, you all have to check all of that.
I know it's very complicated. I've been involved in the city for a long time, so
I know. The mayor's office is probably the best person to tell you exactly what's going on.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Michelle. Kristen, anything else?
We had one more platinum member. It was Right Way, I believe. It's one of Allie's groups. They do wire, fire, and mold, emergency disaster cleanup. And real quick, with my events, we're doing a mingle with management next month at the Bird Key Yacht Club. It's where you can find management services, vendor services, what's new out there. And we're giving away a 42-inch flat screen TV So board members are welcome to attend that. It's complimentary.
Thank you. Is there anything further from the board? If we have any board left, we have a couple of board members, or from anyone else. Our next meeting is October 7th at 4 o'clock, and we look forward to seeing all of you then. So thank you all very much for coming today.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you.
adjourned. Have a good night.
Thanks.